Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our morning market update for April 24th of Tuesday. This is George Papazov from TRADEPRO Academy. Today, we got some exciting updates for you. We're going to talk about Google. We're going to talk about Bitcoin, and we're going to talk about a few other things as well, Amazon, on today's morning market update. All right, so first and foremost, let's start out by taking you through and showing you a few earnings that happened last night. A few companies that released some of their earnings as part of earnings season and how they've performed. So Alphabet, or also known rather as Google, is down 0.2 cents. It's down 0.2 of a cent, 0.2% after hours following a surge in costs. We'll talk about that in a moment. Barrick Gold is down as well. Halliburton's down. Kimberly-Clark is down. So pretty much all earnings yesterday that were significant, we had some downside. The biggest of all, of course, was Google, and we'll talk about why Google's down and how that was interpreted. All right, taking a scan through the market so far in Asia, Japan closed up 1 whole percentage point. Hong Kong closed up 1.3%, and China up 2 whole percent. It's a massive gain in China. India up 0.5. So Asian equities strong across the board, and there was some bullish sentiment in there. In Europe at midday, London's up 0.2, Paris is down 0.1, and Frankfurt is up 0.2%. So all in all, equities in Europe were a little bit more flat, a little bit less drive to the upside, and they just more so consolidated. So strong Asian session, consolidation here on the European Open. And so far, futures in the U.S. are looking down. We're getting a little bit of a sell-off along with oil. I'm currently short a few lots on oil. I may have to turn around and actually manage this trade. But looking at these, crude oil is down 0.3% and dropping. So it is now at 68.78, and it was up. It was down to 68.18 at one point, so a little bit of a recovery. Crude oil today at 4:30 p.m. tonight has an API inventory report. That's going to be very important for the overall sentiment direction for the remainder of the week in oil. So tonight at 4:30 p.m., be very cautious. There's going to be a lot of volatility in crude oil. If you're an evening trader, you could actually even look to capitalize on some of those movements right after the closing bell. The last couple of times has been a draw of inventory, and we're going to see what it's like this time through. All right, gold prices are down a significant amount, down 1% to 1325 and lower now. So gold is selling off this morning. Yesterday, the U.S. dollar was very strong. Yesterday's morning market update, we said, watch the U.S. dollar. If that thing continues upwards, everything's going to turn lower, and it did. All right, it's not like we had a crystal globe. We just know markets, and we know that strong dollar kind of foreshadows some weakness in equities and commodities. The 10-year yield is now back. It's cooled off a little bit. We got it to as high as 2.99 yesterday. Today we had 2.96, so we've cooled off a few basis points. But I think that once we break 3 points on the 10-year yield, there's going to be massive changes in the structure of the investment industry, and we'll talk about why in our Sunday Market Analysis Live webinar coming up this week. So very important. If you want to get into that, you could subscribe to any one of our memberships. Even Swing Trader comes with the weekly Sunday live analysis webinar. Every week at 8 p.m. we meet Eastern. We meet together as a group, and then that's recorded and available as well for replay. All right, Bitcoin's up 4%. Oh, baby, I got taken out on oil. I get that. I'll take you guys and show you very quickly the trade here on oil that I just did. Let me just make sure the camera's pointing towards the right direction. Sorry, it's a little shaky. Oh, man, it's so hard to operate a camera with one hand and a mouse with another. I just show you guys. There was a short on oil. I don't know if you guys could see it. Shorted right here. These 87s on the pit open, covered them down at 69 for 8 lots. You guys do the math. Anywho, point is, I'm out of that trade. Next thing we're going to talk about here is, look for more weakness in oil. I don't think it's over yet. And I think this 3% yield on the 10-year is a really significant milestone for the market. If we break above that, there's going to be some trouble in the investment industry. Overall in Wall Street, there's going to be some trouble. And we'll talk about why on Sunday and how you can prepare as a trader to take advantage of that opportunity. Not if, but when we break that 3% yield. All right, Google shares dipped after hours on Monday. They reported a smashing beat of numbers. All right, super strong growth in ad sales on Google Search and YouTube. So ads exploded higher on YouTube and Google. I do not have ads on my YouTube channel. I never will. I do not monetize a YouTube channel. I put out great content, and then you guys come out to the trading room. That's the idea behind this whole business. All right. So, but one thing that offset those surging revenues or surging costs as well in Q1. Google's margins dropped from 127% to 122%. You might say, boo-hoo-hoo, they're making 122%. Poor Google. Well, the interesting aspect of that is that's the lowest margin that Google has had since 2014. So investors took note of that. So despite the fact they made a ton of money and they made more revenue, their actual margin that they took home was the lowest in 4 years, and that's pretty much got everybody's attention. All right. Basically, net profit still jumped 73% to 9.4 billion, up from 5.4 billion in the same period a year ago. So profits are up 73%, but costs skyrocketed more. All right. What else? Oh, Alphabet got a nice boost out of Uber, and they have a lot of investments. Remember, Alphabet's Google. They're interchangeable. Actually, Google is a subpart of Alphabet. Alphabet's the parent company. And so Alphabet has a lot of investments in small tech companies and small players, and they've really been able to capitalize on that. So that's driving in part of their profitability also. All right, last but not least, we're talking about Amazon. This is kind of cool. Amazon is working on robots for the home. All right. According to a Bloomberg report, it's recently ramped up hiring for a secret project codenamed Vesta. Not Vespa, Vesta. Could you imagine they called it Vespa? Who wants a Vespa? I tell you, Vespas are all over Europe. Those of you that are watching from Europe are like, oh yeah, I know what Vespas are. Most of them in North America, like, what's a Vespa? There's not many of them out here. But I love them, man. They're so fun to ride. So the Greg Zaire is hired and heading up this project in Amazon, and it's called Lab 126. It's a hardware research project. Some sources say that these robots could actually be available to consumers in 2019, and that some of them are going to head home with staff in 2018, and they'll be sold to the masses in 2019. I don't know about you guys. I'd love to have a robot in the office, man. It could be just zoning around. It could go get me a cold beer right now. I'd be like, I don't know what they'll call it. Amazon, maybe Amy. Hey, Amy, can you get me a cold beer from the fridge? And there we go. Amber, I don't know, whatever. I would buy one for sure. I'm kind of like a technology geek, though. So I don't know. Would you guys? I'd like to ask you. Would you buy a robot that does stuff for you around the household? It's scary in one way though, because once you get a robot in your household doing things for you, think about this. Those robots can start replacing people that do things for other people also. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Last but not least, on the morning market update today, I want to say a heartfelt, sincere condolences to anybody affected by the tragedy yesterday. We don't know yet if it's terrorism or if it's mental health issue or what the motive was, but there was a terrorist attack. Not terrorist. There was an attack in Toronto. That's my home city. Somebody got in a white minivan and just plowed people on the sidewalk. And this isn't like one area where they just go and plow them. They just drove down the sidewalk for like almost half a kilometer, just hitting everybody along the way. Killed 10 people, injured 15. This thing, when I got into, I was away at the time. I was picking up the fiance from the airport. When I got back to the trading room, they're like, George, are you okay? I'm like, of course I'm okay. I just picked up my fiance. I didn't give her enough time to be mad at me yet. Why wouldn't I be okay? But then when I looked at the reports, I started to notice this thing, and it actually happened a block away from my parents' live. So I called them, and they said they were fine. But I mean, that really stinks. I'll tell you guys one thing. I don't really open up too much to you guys on YouTube for whatever reason. I guess I'm scared of you guys. Just protecting myself, man. But I used to come from a mindset of negativity. So I used to think in a negative way, and to me, if somebody else had something and I didn't have it, to me, that was not acceptable. I would sort of look down on that, and I would say they have it for a reason and I don't. And then, I know it's a family show, but then I just cut that shit out, and I started to really look within myself and ask myself, how am I responsible for change? I changed my whole life around. I used to be a totally different person. Actually, people that know me like 10, 15 years ago are like, what the hell happened to you? For the better. So the point I'm trying to make is now when something like this happens, I just can't help but feel it. Like it really sucks. I just felt the pain yesterday, and I just felt the heart cringe. But heart goes out to everybody out in Toronto that's affected. It's my home city. Toronto strong, I guess. And the Leafs beat Boston Bruins last night too. So that's another positive. Yeah, that's all I got for you guys. If you guys have any questions, let me know in the comment box. Manage that risk today. Manage your stops. Trade like a trade pro. look for some opportunity in the market today to maybe go down. Watch the US dollar once again. On the open, I'd be very, very curious to see how Google shares trade and if investors start dumping them. Remember, institutional volume doesn't come out till 9:30. If they start hitting those shares big, Google's going to slide. And if Google slides, Nasdaq's going to slide. And if Nasdaq slides, there's a very good chance S&P is going to get brought down with it. So watch Google and Nasdaq this morning and watch the US dollar. You guys take care. Have yourselves a wonderful day. I'll see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. for another morning market update. Trade like a trade pro. See you guys later. Goodbye. Let me spin around. All right, trade pros. What happened here on my screen? Let me close this stuff out. That's a nice profit that we took right down in the oil. 68.66 was the overnight low. So I kind of had my offer at the 68s, 69, and I got filled on those too. I'll show you guys that in the screen in a moment. I mean, you can't get greedy. It's one thing to expect a level, and most people will post their closing orders right at the level saying, I want the level. But who are you to want something, right? You get what you get. You get the opportunity. You don't get what you want. That's part of life. In fact, the more you want something, the universe is going to work harder not to get it to you. It's going to keep you in a state of wanting. So anywho, that's what I did. I bought it back a couple ticks above the low. Let's set out some levels for today's trading, guys, and let's get into it and trade the open together as we usually do.